Hello there. I am so glad that y'all are here because I am really looking forward to this conversation. I have really enjoyed, a little redundant there, but y'all have heard him here before. He has a new book coming out. He's talking about things that I didn't even know had happened to and around him. And y'all are going to recognize a lot of the story. So, without further ado, Maxim Purek. Hi.
And thanks so much for the invite. I know the last time we did this, we had a lot of fun. We were just, chit chatting and talking about the paranormal and everything else. So that's kind of fun. So thank you so much. And by the way, you said without further ado. Now, what exactly does that mean? That ado?
It means without further discussion.
Okay, thank you. I didn't know.
You're welcome.
Okay.
That is
that must be
that's
French.
one of my grandmother did.
Okay.
And a little old lady from my church, she wanted to teach my daughters and I French, and it was a miserable failure, but we had a good time.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Is
that
a difficult language to learn?
It was for me.
Okay.
I took Latin in high school.
Yeah.
Just to kind of help me with my writing skills going into college.
Sure, yeah.
And that was not difficult for me.
Mm-hmm.
French was very difficult for me, and I did not retain much of it at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fun language and it's a beautiful language. And the woman that was teaching me was a war bride who came over on a troop ship.
Okay, wow.
So she had a great history to go with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't retain any of it. It's kind of tragic.
You know, what's amazing, and I think you probably have discovered this already, but everybody you talk to has just a wonderful resume and have done so much and worn so many hats. I mean, all of us are just so unique and, just exceptional. It's just, that's the amazing thing. And I can't imagine what it's like to be sitting there in your seat talking to just so many interesting speakers and writers and authors and everything else. I mean, you're without further ado, you're pretty amazing to be able to do that. So I think that's
I'm very blessed with what I do. I started Paranormal Experience 10 years ago, almost 11. I've done Fate magazine for 5 years, and through the course of both of them, Paranormal Experience, when I started, I love ufology. And so I was doing all of these fun things, and as well as ghosts and owners of locations, people that, television famous and all this fun stuff. And it was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I have never once not looked forward to doing a show, because I love what I do and I love who I get to talk with and learn from.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
And,
right.
I'm very fortunate.
Yeah. And, Stephen Covey said in The Secrets of the Rich and Famous, whatever, that the most important thing is to seek to understand before being understood. And what he meant was like, just shut up and listen. Let the other person teach you. And most of us don't do that. Most of us just blab and we talk and we overtalk and we can't wait to get our 2 cents in. When really,
and we don't pay attention then.
Yeah. And the secret is just to listen. So, oh, my wife is. But thank you. You're interrupting this podcast.
But she's bringing you your tea.
My tea, yes. Okay, thank you.
That's a brilliant wife.
Yes. So, but yeah, and the other thing too is just not that there was a question there, but the paranormal community, you've been in it for a while. When I wrote my book, the Shepton mythology,
Hmm.
that was in 2016, 9 years ago. I've been in
Wow.
this thing pretty much for 9 years. This opened up the door. And, I think I said this the last time we were on. I mean, I can't believe how welcoming and respectful the paranormal community has been to somebody like me. I mean, it's just pretty amazing. And
Somebody like you, you're pretty amazing.
well, oh,
I
well,
mean,
thank you. Okay. But
sell it short. I mean,
I don't know what to say to stop it. But, and one thing I noticed too, there's a lot of young podcasters. I mean, they're
mhm,
real young, and they are so eager to open up doors and to help. And it's almost like a tribal thing. And it's
yes,
not like a lot of folks my age that are sort of, businesslike and territorial, and they worked hard.
and protective.
And right, exactly. They want to keep their brand and all their stuff. The younger people are more, I think, I mean, from what I'm seeing, more altruistic. They want
Hmm.
to help. It's just, I mean, man, I
Yes,
mean, there's hope for the world. There's good people out there.
there
So
there are, and I have enjoyed all of the. Is that true? It is true. I can say that all of the podcasters that I've had a chance to talk to. I've run into ego once that was difficult to get past. But I agree with you on the youngers. There's one in particular, Sophia Temporelli, who is the ghost host, but she's brilliant. She really is a cool kid. And she's a really nice person and a
mhm.
great host. If you ever get a chance to talk to her, you would, you would remember
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you had.
Well,
She's cool.
set it up, set it up. I'm
I
eager.
will.
Yeah,
I'll help you with that.
yeah,
But I find it interesting because with your background, you have a vast array of experiences in so many different things. And here you are focusing in the paranormal with
yeah.
your writing right now. It's very interesting. Why is that your primary focus? Do you just like it? Do you think it's fun?
Well, you just told me about the time you got like knocked on the head in Scotland. It was like that.
Yes.
I'm a former rock journalist. I was
Hmm.
working on a
Yes.
book trying to connect the song Timothy from 1971 with, which was about cannibalism, with the Shepton mine disaster. And when I was researching Shepton, and again, we talked about that, when I was
Yes.
researching Shepton, uh, there were paranormal elements. There were out of body experiences, after life experiences, near death experiences, just a whole lot of high strangeness. And that book took off. It opened up doors. Again, I didn't go looking for it, but all of a sudden, I'm on podcast. I'm on
Right.
Australia's Mysterious Universe, invited to conferences. I mean, the door, not the door, but the door started to open. So this, and then since then, I started to write. I was very prolific. So over the last 9 years, I mean, I wrote Co-Region Hoodoo, Flying Saucer Esoteric. I mean, and on and on and on. I mean, a whole lot. So
There is, and people can find those on Amazon
yeah, yeah,
and
exactly.
go and read them all.
Yes, yes. Call Mr. Jeff Bezos, and he needs the money. Yeah,
Yeah.
send him a few bucks. Yeah.
Well, where else would they? Where else would you suggest they go?
Yeah, go to my website, www.maximfuryk.com, and we're getting ready to launch a brand new Man Does It Rock the House website. It's good. It's good. And I just, this one friend of mine has been such a great friend and supporter. And here I found out that he does website design. And
Oh
over the
wow,
weekend, it just happened over the weekend, he put something together, and I am just like thrilled, thrilled. So,
that's so cool.
I know. Yeah, and for all the folks out there, I mean, you need a website, not so much to sell books or make money, but just as a resume here, so that people
Hmm.
can find out about you and see what you're about. So that's why it's important to have not only a website, but also business cards, old-fashioned business cards. They still work. You know.
They do work,
Yeah, yeah. So
and people tend to just pop them in their bag. They don't tend to get tossed to the side like some other things do.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
And
And on my desk, I just have a little box here, a little cardboard box,
I
nothing
have one.
fancy.
Yes.
And I throw the cards in there, and every now and then I go through them and I start making my phone calls. But but it's all good. Um, but yeah, I'm like as you, I'm blessed. I'm fortunate. I love being where I am, and the thing of it is, I mean, what I want to do for the paranormal community is this. I want to go and articulate the paranormal. I want to try to define the parameters, what it is, because nobody knows. I'm just trying to go and be part of that, defining what
Right.
it is, and also try to be a good voice, a good ambassador for the paranormal, and speak like an academic, only to get the respect of the public and the scientific community. So if I can do that, then I think that's what I want to do. I mean, it's hard to step back and and say, what
It's
exactly you want. But other than that, I mean, I'm having a whole lot of fun. I mean, I do book signings and people will come up and say, "Hey, I read your book and I liked your book." I mean, that's just so validating
it
because
is totally validated.
for a lot of us, we're in a vacuum. I mean, how often does somebody call you up and say, "Hey, Kat, I heard your show. You're really good. You were really on. You're really articulate. You're really this. You're really that." A lot of times we don't get that,
You're
and
right.
when you do get it, I mean, that's valuable. So, but again, it's not about ego. It's just about. I mean, I don't think.
Maybe reinforcement.
Yeah, it's reinforcement. Yeah, and I mean, and as far as ego, and I know we all have egos, but I mean, I feel very confident. I mean, I like who I am and what I'm doing. I mean, I think I'm a good researcher and writer, and but it's not ego speaking. It's just like confidence. I mean, I like where I'm at right now, and hopefully I get better and better.
Confidence is confidence is king. It really is because to be able to build it is a gift. To be to have a reason to want to build it. I mean, there's so many people that just kind of flow through everything and they don't realize how special they are.
Right.
And it's really important. I actually do get a good bit of validation. I'm very fortunate. I have a lot of friends who are supportive. I have been doing this for 10 years. I have followers that reach out. I had my social media hacked and just disappeared off of it as a result of that for a while. And people were still reaching out. I was so fortunate. And, they could get to me through fate as well.
Hmm.
And it was, I realized that people like what I do because I do bring them cool people like you, and I get to have information shared relevant to your experiences. You've had some experiences. You're fun to talk to.
Yeah.
And so I get
Now,
to
now, what,
bring
now,
that.
what does that mean? Fun to talk to?
It means that you're not boring, you're interesting, you share very well. You've done things that I find fascinating, so I have fun listening to you.
Okay. Okay.
And it's a compliment.
Okay.
So I'm Southern, but I will tell you that's a compliment. But it's really you're enjoyable.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
You love what you do. You like the
Yeah.
experiences that you've had,
Yeah.
and it makes it fun to talk to you.
Hmm.
Not everybody is like that as much as you are,
Yeah.
and that's okay. Everybody has their different thing.
Well, we're all different. All have different personalities. And I mean, when I look at my brother and my sister, we're all different. When I look at my cousins, we're all different. I mean, that's just the way it is, But we're all unique. And when I worked in addictions, and I was a
Mhm.
psychologist, but I specifically dealt with addictions and recovery. And recovery is one of the most powerful things that a human being can do. You
Yes.
change, you stop doing the booze, the drug, the behavior, you resurrect yourself, you transform. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. But with being in that realm, I mean, I just think that uh, helped ground me
Hmm.
and teach me things like Alcoholics Anonymous, finding a higher power and all of that. I mean, good stuff. And AA doesn't, you don't need to be an addict or an alcoholic to benefit from the tenets of AA.
Yes.
It's a
They're good
wonderful,
principles.
they really are. Yeah, they really
Yeah.
are. And so I was fortunate. I was co-hosted or co-directed these AA meetings with Ed H. And Ed had been in recovery for 28 years and taught me everything he knew about the disease of alcoholism.
Wow.
A cool guy, man, was he a great guy. He was my friend, my mentor. Loved the guy. He was like a father, like a shaman, like a brother. And but that was pretty much my beginning. And I think that's I mean, I can look through the eyes with I'm talking about recovery, and I would ask people, how did you get into recovery? Because you doing the drug is pretty blissful. It makes you feel good, and so what if you're
Until
losing.
it doesn't.
Yeah, well, it does, but so what if you're losing your car or your phone or your job or your apartment or your wife or your husband or whatever? So what? You still got the drug. And then I talk to
Yes.
these people, like, how did you get into recovery? And so many of them said, I don't know. It was a miracle. It's like the supernatural. It's like the paranormal. We don't
Mhm.
know. There's no definition for it. It's part of the scientific, but we don't know what it is. It was a miracle. They just
Yeah.
stopped. I mean, I'm not just talking about alcohol. I'm talking about heroin. I'm talking about
Right.
meth, wicked drugs that can really rip you inside out and
Yes.
and turn you against yourself. And I remember Joe Welsh of the Eagles. He was on a
Mhm.
YouTube video, and Joe was saying that he stopped drinking. He's in recovery. He said he stopped drinking because the drug stopped working for him. He was working for the drug. So
Yes.
he is so cool with
Well,
that gravelly voice, and how he
I
talks. But
love his gravelly voice,
yeah,
but he is one of the people. It's Walsh, isn't it?
Joe Walsh, yeah,
Yes. He is one of the people that I found interesting because he just kind of rolled with his addictions for a while, you know, and when he started getting more serious, I guess serious about leaving them behind, walking away when he could, I was very aware of that because I wasn't a woo fan, but I was like it's a really cool guy
yeah, yeah.
fan, you know.
Well,
And so I
it's
saw him when he was using and I saw him when he wasn't.
yeah.
And the talent was always there, but the person was not always able to be who he could be.
Yeah, yeah. I can relate to a tiny, tiny bit of that. Like I'll do these presentations and you get off the stage and you are adrenalized, you are jacked up, you are so filled with adrenaline, and it takes a while just to come down. And you
To
could
let
either
it bleed out.
yeah,
Yeah.
you could either do it with substances, which a lot of the rock stars do.
Mhm.
But what happens is a lot of times they would get into the cycle where they use the drugs to come down and then use the uppers to get jacked up again. And so they got into the cycle. And
Yes.
so, and there's those stories, there's a million of those stories. I mean, we know tons of people. And it's pretty much
Yeah.
about fame. It's the inability to handle fame. And
Yeah.
Steven Tyler of Aerosmith said that fame was like 1,000 chickens pecking at you at the same time. That could be an old
That's
Alabama expression, right? But
it could. And that probably is an apt description because it seems like whether you're rock star famous or you know doesn't even take that much. You could be president of the PTA and you go to the grocery store and everybody's like,
yeah,
"Da-da-da-da-da." And not that I would ever be president of the PTA because, man, I don't like being in those organizations and
yeah,
leadership. But I tried it, not for me.
yeah,
But it's one of those things that people are always, if you're, from what I have observed, if you're in the public eye like that, one of the people gets so offended because why do they gate themselves off? Why don't they come out in public? Why don't, if you've been to a Taylor Swift concert, a Aerosmith concert, whoever, there's no chance in the world that those people would be able to survive with unlimited access. And I'm sorry, I just think that people in mass can be dangerous.
Yeah,
And
right. Yeah, yeah. And
you know,
also,
so
fame. I thought at one point I wanted to be this famous motivational speaker, and I wanted to travel
yeah,
around and do all that. And I had a friend that worked in fabrication, and they did these trailer frames, very basic trailer frames. He got hired by a Chinese company, and he was on their payroll. And they would say, "We need you in Indianapolis on Thursday." So John would have to do all the paperwork, do all the logistics. They would pay him, but to get from Pennsylvania to Indianapolis and then do the paperwork going in and the paperwork after he visited the plant going out. I mean, they were just sucking him dry. And he was at the top of the game, getting really good money. But man, I mean, you sell your soul. I mean, what is left? He had no family life, and
yeah,
I mean, that was the top. I mean, he didn't have the fame. He wasn't on a stage, but he was making really good money. But, again, it wasn't worth it. I mean, I thought I wanted that, but
yes.
after knowing him, I decided, no, that, I mean, don't want to do that, so.
Well, your piece is valuable.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was so impressed when I would meet a person of celebrity and they were able to interact. And then when people would start to come back up to them, like tables at events and whatever, and they were able to say, you know what, I've really been working that 5 hours now and I really need a break. And if you will just respect that and give me my time, I'll be back and come and tell me that you were who I talked to.
Hmm.
And to watch that reaction of the fans versus the just jump up and run away behind your security guard with him but as a buffer, people respected and appreciated being told, I just really need downtime, but I'll be back.
Hmm.
But if you're in a crowd of 30,000, it's really hard to do that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to find a way to do it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you need help as a
Yeah.
rule.
But a lot of us want that. A lot of younger people maybe want that fame. They think that's what they want, that acclaim.
But they
But
think
it's
it looks cool.
yeah.
And
But
they
it's
think
not. It's really not what we think it is. So buyer beware.
definitely a buyer beware
Yeah.
thing. And, you know, I I really think that people, back to the paranormal, I've been to just about every paranormal con here and there. And it's just so funny because the people that are there because they like their fans and aren't scared. Because there are some weird fans out there, as anyone can attest to.
Yeah.
But
I mean, they want more than, I don't know what they want. They
then
want
you have
they want a
to,
piece of you, maybe.
yeah, they want more than you have to give.
Yeah.
And that's I would think it would be very scary. Um, I've worked around people a lot. I used to be a VIP manager for an amphitheater and would work with security through what I did, as well as didn't interact very often with the music, with the talent, but when I did, it was always professional, quick, clean.
Hmm.
And if somebody wanted to interact more, that wasn't for me to initiate.
Hmm.
And I've worked at rock festivals in you know in different capacities, and it's really interesting how different people cope with that. So, but But if people would just remember that everybody puts their pants on one leg at a time, and sometimes everybody gets a foot tangled up sometimes.
Well,
You know, you have to
yeah,
not be jumping down and ready to go. Oh,
yeah,
I got
yeah,
this footage. I got
yeah,
this
yeah.
video.
Yeah, my theory is I got like a million of them, but I think, we're all screwed up. We're all
Yeah,
dysfunctional, but we could be fixed. We can be
yeah,
fixed. That's the thing. So,
mostly.
and I know I had met John Bradshaw. He's the guy that did the inner child work. And he
Yeah,
was saying that, that they say that 99% of the families are dysfunctional, but John said that he believes it's 100%.
I think it's
So,
100%.
yeah,
Different levels of dysfunctional, and
yeah,
um, it may not be as some levels of dysfunction aren't as obvious as others. They're not out there right on the public street calling your
yeah.
name.
Yeah, and
But
it all depends. You're a product of what preceded you, what happened, and I
yeah,
think about my high school experience. I mean, I go to all my reunions. I mean, I love my class. I mean, we got along, but I know
yeah,
people that refuse to go because of the clique. The clique did horrible things to them, or some of you girls are really terrible, towards each other. I know one girl that I way back when, like 40 years ago, I had a crush on. She refuses to go to the reunions because the girls picked on her. So I don't know what
oh, wow.
that was, but I mean, that's part of your experience. And if that's your
Mhm.
experience, and maybe something even darker or harsher that you got to deal with, but no matter what it is, and for your listeners out there, I mean, if you're in a dark place, there's places to go for help. You need to talk to a trusted other or get professional help. And I mean, life is worth living, and there's no need to be depressed and in the darkness. So I mean, if anything, I think other than talking about the paranormal, we need to talk about that positivity, that life,
Absolutely.
it can be filled with joy, and despite things that happen, I mean, I just went to a memorial service for my running buddy last night, and I'm thinking, boy, this is a good example of life. I mean, as my personal life is just so rewarding and so wonderful, and then I'm dealing with the reality of my very good friend's death, and that go figure that. I mean, I don't know. It's life. That's what it is. I mean, you deal with it. You deal with it on life's
Yeah.
terms. So,
And a lot of times people will internalize, right? Situations that they don't have ownership over.
mhm.
And just because, I mean, did something happen that was horrible and it affected your life? Yeah, that happens to most everybody at some point.
Yeah.
But where I feel like the healing and the therapy through recovery happens is not just the addicts need therapy, right? The people they affected also need
Oh yeah.
therapy.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of attention paid to that because either their victims or targets or whatever were children who were already acting out because they were trying to get away.
Right.
I've seen that so many times.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, but the recovery doesn't just involve the person with the issues. They create issues for other people too. And what I think is beautiful is when you see somebody who takes ownership of that. That's a hard thing to take ownership of because not only were you embedded in your addiction or whatever, but you also are taking ownership for affecting someone else's life in a negative way.
Mhm.
And the people I have seen do that astound me because that's such a powerful human to be able to do that. My humans weren't able to do that.
Mhm.
I had a very difficult stepfather who was very, very difficult.
Yeah.
But I went and did the work for myself. Other people that he traumatized opted out. of doing, because you can blame the person all day long, but you still have to take ownership of your life
Mhm.
and be able to find your path in order to not just wallow in your misery, because it is miserable
Yeah, yeah,
from
yeah,
what I've
yeah,
seen
yeah,
of the
yeah,
people that don't get past that.
yeah. But I think the important thing is that we all have the ability to
Hmm.
get beyond it, to
Yes.
make sense of it, with the
Yes.
resilience, and to put it in its right place. But just a
Yes.
couple of things. You were talking about, the mantra is that, the addict affects at least 7 other people. So it's not just one person, being
It's
addicted.
never just one person.
Yeah. And then the other thing too is there's a really fascinating, chemistry that a lot of times when some of these guys, and I'm going to say guys, get into recovery, the wife who's been the codependent, been the nursemaid, the mother, the little mommy, has
Yes.
nothing to do because the dude's going to the AA meetings. He's drinking coffee with his buddies and all this. And I have a friend that after years and years of his wife putting up with his nonsense, when he got clean and sober, that's when she divorced him. I mean, that was it. But
Nobody
amazing.
to nursemaid anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So, but then that symbiosis, that symbiotic
Yeah.
relationship where she's the parent and he's the child, that changed. He became
Mm.
more of the, I guess, the parent or the adult, and she had no role, which
Yeah.
was, and but I knew this story well because, I remember this guy, was drunk. He fell down the steps. He punctured a spleen or something. I get a
Oh,
call from his daughter, and he's in the hospital, and whatever. But I mean, but again, that was my career. I heard stories like this, but it's the stories of recovery that are the most powerful. And people in recovery, I think, are very, empowered, and I think that's just such a good thing. But again, the message I would say to all your listeners is that, if you're in a bad place, you could certainly get into a place of tranquility and joy and everything. And there's plenty of ways to do that. So just, join our happiness club. And, I'm a member. I think, yeah, you're going to be the president. So
I don't know about that. But there's just so much out there, and it's very easy to get locked into the mindset of, you know, well, hey, well, it wasn't my fault. It's not my fault that I had these experiences and I just can't get past them because, oh my God, I'm such a victim,
yeah,
and that's a real thing. And, but even as you were, as a victim, you don't want to be a victim your whole life.
yeah, yeah. Or
You
okay,
know,
or you could also say that another good one is life isn't fair. Well, it's not fair. So,
not for
get with the
anybody.
program.
It's
I mean,
not fair for anyone.
especially if you're,
Um,
black, female, transgender, gay, whatever, I mean, come on, it's, you nobody gets a buy. So,
um, yeah, that's absolutely true.
yeah.
And, you know, how fortunate it is to find a way to enjoy being you,
Mhm.
as you come through these things. And
And, and,
I've
and and
never,
also, and let me interrupt or interject if I may, to
sure.
converse, to communicate and interact with somebody else who's like-minded, who's feeling that, who's empowered, and and has, and is like that. I mean, that's a
Mhm.
gratifying thing. I mean, human beings connecting and sharing that, and that's just such a, wonderful thing, a powerful thing, just, yeah, the greatest
Yes.
joy of any human being is human interaction. And people
Depends
feel
on the human.
people who
Yes.
are mentally ill or
Yes.
drug addicted or filled with shame don't
Mhm.
feel that they deserve to have that connection with people
You're
because they're
right.
unworthy of it. And that's a lot of that
Yeah.
going around too.
There is a lot of that going around. And, you know, but everybody is worthy of chances. And,
Yeah.
you know, I will say that after a certain period, I don't give them, because if it's repetitive behaviors and they're harmful to me, I don't. Yeah, I will if I see effort being made.
Well,
But
you know,
if the behaviors are all that are shining, then access is cut off.
yeah. Well, you know,
Because
people are they either have your back or they don't. I mean, there's no in
yes,
between. There's no way, right? I mean, I'm either going to help you or I'm not, so
yeah. But I
yeah,
mean, I really will help anybody that I feel like is trying to help themselves too.
yeah.
And if it becomes I learned how to have boundaries. I will help you as long as you're trying to help yourself too.
Hmm.
But the day that I'm getting more weight for that than you are, that's when you get to find out how strong you are
Hmm. Yeah.
and do it. So,
And people filled with shame don't feel that they have the boundaries. They feel that they're transparent. They feel that everybody
yes,
could see them for how flawed they are and everything. And so they overcompensate. They, puff themselves up to say, look, I'm not that, not that vulnerable. I'm not that,
yeah.
So
And
anyway,
it's okay to be vulnerable when you're seeking help, because that's why you're seeking help.
yeah, a strong person, a healthy person will ask for help.
Mhm.
An unhealthy person will say, nope, I got this. Yeah, I don't need your help.
Yes.
So
Yeah. I agree with you on that. And that camouflage is so strong. People try so hard to get across that they're fierce, they're mighty, they're strong. And
mhm,
to get help, you have to admit that you've got a vulnerability creating a need for help.
mhm,
And that's very hard to do.
mhm.
So, wow, we had a whole therapy session right
We
here.
did, yes, yes. Well, it's helped me immensely. So there, so
Ditto. But it really is cool because you come at your writing from so many different perspectives. I mean, you're an adventurer. You go and you seek the unusual and the fun. Some of y'all's travel pictures are astounding.
are you
I love
following me
it.
on Facebook?
I do follow you on
Okay.
Facebook, but well, when we first connected, I
Yeah.
had to find out who I was talking to, right?
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
And so, it's a really big deal to enjoy life every chance that you get, and y'all seem to do that.
Well, yeah, I'm fortunate. I have a wife who's a good cook and has a good sense of humor, and that's great. And I'm very careful about doing these gigs, like these book signing gigs. I don't want to wear her out, so I don't do a whole bunch of them. But
Mhm.
we did one over the weekend that was so. It was the Central Pennsylvania Bigfoot Encrypted Expo
Oh my gosh, I bet that
in
was awesome.
it was thousands of people. Yeah, Gwen Purcell put it together, and the people that were there were just amazing. I'm next to Jason. Is it Kelsey? The guy from
Mhm.
British Columbia, the documentary guy. Pretty sure that's
I
his name.
I'm not positive. I can't say that.
Yeah, but anyway, he said he'd like to do a documentary about moi. That means me in French. So so so
You're
anyway, uh, I said, no, why don't we do it on the Shepton mythology? And then my wife said, no, why are you doing it about Shepton? That's like old. Why don't you let him do it on you? I mean, so that's where we're at now. But we met a whole bunch of people. It was fun.
that
And
is fun.
and what's so nice is that people say, hey, I read your book or I heard you on a podcast.
Mhm.
And that's affirmative. I mean, God, somebody actually listened to me on a podcast. I mean, that is just so freaking cool. So that was good. We had a really good Saturday. I mean, we met a whole lot of people, and it was just wonderful. But like I said, I don't want to burn out my wife because she's been very supportive. So thus
Well,
far,
I've got a feeling, just based on conversations, that she would let you know if you were feeling that.
she would. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's just a little an intimate part about our lives. Right around the corner, they're having a beanbag tournament, the local bar. So September the 5th. So we bought some bean bags and we're practicing. So we want to win. So, so
Are you a bit competitive, Max?
oh, I am. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. But just
I
it's
am
fun.
too.
Yeah.
It is fun,
Hmm.
but you got to have something.
Well, but then again, do you? I mean, what about if you and
I
I
guess so.
just laid on the couch with the remote and watched TV? I mean, no,
We
seriously,
do that too.
what's so bad about that? What about if you just did that?
Not a thing's wrong with that
Yeah,
because we'd be together.
yeah,
And there are nights that my husband is a huge Braves fan,
okay,
and I am too. But I miss Dale Murphy and that era of
yeah,
players.
yeah,
But we do that, and we also go and adventure,
hmm,
and a lot of times we go to poker tournaments,
okay,
and he'll be
okay.
playing poker, and I go adventure. So I got to Zion National Park
Oh,
this year,
nice. Yeah,
so that was fun.
with
But
monuments. Yeah.
you just get. It's all about balance, right?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think it is, but I don't know. I mean, it's about a whole lot of things. It's about
It is
connection.
a lot.
I think it's about connection. I think it's about I think it's about God's has given us talents. It's our job to multiply those talents. I think it's about that. Uh, but finding that space. I mean, I love people. I love to schmooze. I love to be social. But then I really love my reclusive moments. I'm pretty much different than a lot of authors I know because a lot of authors are very timid and shy and soft
Now
spoken.
that to be true.
And I
You
like
are so not.
no, I'm like and I say this in a wonderful way, like a carnival barker. Like, I mean, you have to go, and we go to these events where people are coming past you, and you got to say, like, "Hey, do you like to read? What do you like to read? Hey, cat, would you like a autographed copy of Coleridge and Hoodoo?" I mean, you work
Yeah.
the crowd, you talk to the crowd, you communicate with the crowd, and that's what you do. And I think there's an art to it. I mean, it's being like a
There is
carnival
an art to it.
barker,
And yeah,
even though a lot of people hate us, they think we're self promoters or whatever. Well,
but
go ahead and dislike us. But here's the thing. Here's another one too. This is my law, universal law of 90.
yeah,
30% of the people are going to love you. 30% of the people are going to hate you, and 30% of the people could care less. They're busy with
yeah,
their own stuff. But I know I got 30%, in my pocket, and the rest, you could work on. But people are going to dislike you even
yeah,
in an election. 50% of the people voted against you. So I mean,
yeah.
so not everybody's going to like you. And I know that for some people I come across as maybe a little bit too assertive, aggressive, too little whatever.
That's not a bad thing.
I don't well, it's not for me. I mean,
I mean,
I'm not going to change, but
I
I
mean,
know
you're at
that.
conferences to sell books
Yeah.
and to meet people and to talk to your readers and to find out, yeah, how are you going to know how you're doing if people won't talk to you?
Yeah. But
So,
the other thing too, and more importantly, I want to be one of the spokespersons for the paranormal. I want to be able to articulate that. And it's just like Jung and Freud talked about talk therapy. You could
mhm,
take an issue, whatever that is, and if you can talk about it, you can find the parameters. This horrible trauma that you're dealing with has a beginning and end. And if you could take a look at that, you could go and put it in a little box like this and
yeah,
keep it over there contained, and it's maybe part of your background, but it doesn't have to go and destroy you or control you or anything. So, that talk therapy, I think that idea is pretty much what I try to do with the paranormal. Just try to identify it and chisel out those boundaries and everything, and that's kind of fun, so because
well,
nobody knows.
I say,
We just have theories. We just have countless theories, and we just try to find the one that works the best.
or the one that we can, yeah, I try to document my theories, and a lot of times, boy, do I not,
Yeah.
you know, because in my experience, the paranormal is very personal because you're dealing with, as a real human spirits who still have the human emotions and ego and stuff if they have not crossed. I've found that to often be true. And but they're also, if they're communicating with you, there's a reason that they're still willing to do that. I like finding that reason.
Yeah. I had something that happened to me that I think, and I'm not going to talk about it, but I think it demonstrated that I had some psychic abilities. But to talk about it brings it out there and invites criticism or condemnation or negativity, from the world. Not everybody, but some. So what I do is I just keep it to myself and honor that, because I think it's private, it's sacred, and again, just something that happened. I mean, not earth shattering, but in a sense maybe it was. But I think some people will have a psychic experience, and that's their horse to ride. I mean, they just can't stop talking about it, and rather than maybe holding it as a sacred thing that happened as a gift, they announce it they like promote it. They use it as a I don't know what, as a
Yes.
promotional tool. And and I'm not going to do that. And so anyway, but
Well,
that,
you promote in other ways. You don't need to do that.
yeah, I know.
For
And
some people, that's their what they hang their hat on,
yeah, yeah.
which is
So
okay for them.
yeah. So anyway, you're probably wondering about the picture of the nun back there, and if that's
Yes.
symbolic of anything, coming down the pike. So
Well, I've got a
feel free
feeling it
to,
probably is.
yes, so feel free to hit me
But,
with some of your questions.
well, I'm going to tell you that I was not familiar with your interest in the Conjuring emotion, the whole experience, the whole situation.
Yeah.
And so when you were writing the Smurl haunting, and you called me and said, I've got this book, and can I send you some talking points, and this, that, and the other. Hey, I really enjoyed when I had you on in the past. So I was like totally up for another conversation. And then I'm reading this information and I'm like, there's a lot happening here. You've got the Warrens, you've got, Amityville, you've got,
Dan Rivera.
Annabelle. Yes.
Dan, rest in peace, Dan. Yeah.
Yes. And, I've got a lot of things that I am curious about. And one of the things I have found about you is that you're great with that. So, first of all, what is the Smurl haunting?
Okay. Well, I live in northeastern Pennsylvania, and there's a township called West Pittston, and West Pittston is about maybe 30 minutes away from me. So in the 1980s, there was the Schmurl haunting. It was sort of like our version of Amityville, and it was your typical haunted house or demonic infestation, where they had grunting sounds, like pig sounds. They had horrible smells. They had profanities etched in the glass.
Oh,
The collie levitated and was flung across the wall. Jack Schmurl was Jack and Janet Schmurl and their, I think, 4 kids. Um, uh, Jack claimed that he was raped by a female demon, a succubus. So all of this stuff happened, and this was in my backyard. So the Schmurls brought in the priests. They were Roman Catholic. They brought in priests. The priests would spend the night there and wait for things to happen. The priest would come and bless the house, holy water and the crucifix and all that. Eventually, Ed and Lorraine Warren were called. Uh, and they spent, I forget how many visits they made there. They brought in Father McKinnon, who was what's called a rogue priest. Now, rogue, are you familiar with that term?
I'm familiar with that term.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Well, it was in my Shepton book. It was
But the listeners may not be.
okay.
So,
Okay. Well, in my Shepton book, Pope John the 23rd, um, they saw his vision in the mind. They thought it was a miracle. He was there in the mind with them for 2 weeks. Pope John the 23rd was the one who initiated Vatican II. And Vatican II was his attempt to modernize the church, to recognize other religions, Jews and Muslims and everyone, as well as Marxist and communist. So a lot of hardcore traditionalist, and also Vatican II allowed the Mass to be said in other languages than Latin. So there were a lot of people, including Father McKinnon, who rebelled and they refused to go along with Vatican II. So for some people, Pope John the 23rd was either an angel or a devil. A lot of people disliked him. And with McKenna, he started his own church. So he was called a rogue priest. But at any rate, he was from Monroe, Connecticut, just like Ed and Lorraine. They brought him in. He went to the Schmerl house, did 3 exorcisms, and was not able to get the job done. So
wow.
there was a book called The Haunted that was written by Bob Curran, Curran, and he was I think Pulitzer Prize winning local reporter, really good. But when you see the book The Haunted, they'll say across the top by Ed and Lorraine Warren. Well, they didn't write it. They had ghostwriters. They just had their name
Right.
there. But at any rate, Ed and Lorraine, so I went up to the Schmerl haunting, which was close, and I would go and hang out there and see the frenzy. It was hysteria. A lot of people were there, a lot of crazy stuff going on, a lot of crazy people going there. The Schmerls or the Warrens went on a 15-city book tour to promote The Haunted. And I saw them in Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, beautiful little touristy town. That was in 1988. I wrote a letter to the guy that was in charge of the Victorian Theater, and I got permission to take pictures and hang out with them. So I had a tape recorder. I'm hanging out with Ed and Lorraine. I'm taking pictures, and I'm asking them about how he fought the demon. And then Lorraine was she was really into animals. And I think there was a chicken that was almost dead. So she had an eyedropper, and she was bringing it back to life. And she had a bunch of chickens there. And but you could hear chickens when I would call them, and I stayed in touch with them for a number of years before they died. And I would specifically ask Ed how he did battle with the demons. How did you battle these demonic forces? So I went to West Pittston, so I was part of that frenzy. Read the book, read everything I could about it. Met Ed and Lorraine, kept in touch with them, and then the other thing that happened, which is very, very bizarre, was the Annabelle Devils on the Run tour took place in 2025. Now, Lorraine wanted this Annabelle doll that looked like Raggedy Ann to be kept in this cage, this wooden cage. She wanted it to stay there at the Warrens Occult Museum. And Tony Spira, their
Yes.
son-in-law, Tony's married to Judy. Tony decided to take Annabelle on the road. So Annabelle went to San Antonio, went to the penitentiary in West Virginia, went to New Orleans, where for 3 days, 3 things happened. There was a plantation fire. There was a jailbreak, like 10 guys went out. They thought it was an inside job. It doesn't matter. They took off. And then there was something else that happened. So that all happened allegedly during when Annabelle was in New Orleans. On July 11th, 12th, and 13th, Annabelle was in Gettysburg. I went to Gettysburg on Friday, July the 11th. $40 a ticket, $40 for me, $40 for my wife. It was closer to $100 with the taxes. So we paid $40 to go there and see Annabelle. And I was hoping to meet Tony Spira. Now, I had never heard anything. Well, whatever. Okay, I was looking to see Tony Spera, but Dan Rivera was there, and Dan was the chief handler. So me and Dan are hanging out, and we're talking about the Schmerl haunting and Ed and Lorraine, and we're talking about different things. He helped to construct the box that Annabelle was in. It was like 5 foot tall. It had the Lord's Prayer on the back. It had a glass door from a church. Uh, it had it was infused with holy water and holy oil, and a priest would bless this box every so often to keep it there. But anyway, I talked to Dan Rivera on July the 11th, and he gave me his phone number. I was supposed to call Dan on Monday, July the 14th. Dan died in his hotel room the day before. It was Sunday, July the 13th. He died.
Yeah.
So I was one of the last paranormal researchers to talk to Dan. And all of a sudden, all over the internet, they're saying, let's not talk about this. Let's give his family time to mourn and process this. So that's one part of the narrative. The other part was this, that, wait a second, there's something going on here. Now, I talked to the psychic Vincent sisters, who I would love to connect you with to have you on their show.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, and they go out there and they find missing people and murders and all this stuff, but they believe that there was some of the demonic at play, that it could have been working on Dan Rivera and possibly wearing him down to the point where he died. So they're saying, be careful. This is not a time for radio silence. This is a time to go and talk about and warn about this thing. So when I looked into Annabelle, there was nothing. I don't have any powers, any abilities, but I didn't see anything. There was nothing terrifying there. But you walked into this cavern, and they had all kinds of purple lights and everything. They had Gregorian chants, and they had the Annabelle there. And then different people, including Dan Rivera, would talk about Annabelle, would talk about Christianity and Catholicism, and that that you have to use the strength of God to fight demonic possession. The theory is that that evil exists and the devil exists. That the devil is strong, the power of the devil is strong, but the power of God is stronger. So this was the narrative. This is what they told me. I
Right.
have pictures I took of Dan. I have a chapter in the Schmerl haunting called "The Death of Dan Rivera," and I believe it's respectful. And and I know there'll be some people say that, well, he's just trying to capitalize on the fact that yada yada yada. Well, whatever you want to say is fine. Listen, I happen to live in a capitalistic society, and we're all trying to make a couple of bucks. And so if I make a couple of bucks, it's not because, and with my book, The Schmerl Haunting, not because I'm banking on Dan Rivera's death, but it's going to be because that book is well researched, well written, and if you buy it, it's going to be the best book on demonology you have in your library, Kat. So just take that to the
I have
bank.
a lot.
So
And I would
anyway,
take your word that would be the best one.
yeah.
So,
So, but you were talking about the Schmerl. So the Schmerl haunting, when I started to write it July the 3rd, and we're what? We're August the what? I mean, the book's in
yes.
production. I mean, I worked on it. It had
Good
flow.
heavens, Max.
Pardon?
I said, good heavens, Max.
I know.
That's
That's what I said too. So there was
amazing.
something channeling through me, something working through me.
Absolutely.
I was the guy picked to do this. I mean, it was in my backyard. I met Ed and Lorraine. I met Dan Rivera. I mean, all of that. It all came together. And so it's not just about the Schmerl haunting, but it's about haunted houses like Amityville and the Hinsdale house and the Wells house. I talk about those. I talk about the signs of demonic possession that some of these people talk in foreign languages, and they have superhuman strength, and they levitate, and they do all kinds of crazy things, whether you believe it or not. It's just been documented. And
It
that
does
there's
happen.
a process, there's a progression of temptation and infestation before the possession. So there's a lot of similarities, a lot of commonality in this realm. And I view this as a academic, as a student. I don't get too, I mean, I don't think I'm trying not to get too close, but I mean, I'm not
Yes, I do.
doing this for power or anything else. I mean, I'm doing it for all the right reasons. So, I mean, I don't think that I'm on, on bad ground. So, but anyway, yeah, so the book has been formatted. It looks really, really good. Uh, I have a chapter called The Apostles of Exorcism, and I talk about all of the exorcists, the world famous exorcists, starting with Jesus Christ of Nazareth. And they said the first miracle that Jesus did was, you know what? An exorcism.
Yeah.
So I talk about that. And I talk about how he taught his disciples how to do the rite of exorcism. And they could do this if they were blessed with the Spirit of Christ and if they would chase out the demons in Christ's name, in the name of Christ. And these disciples then taught this to other people. So that was the thing. And you can do this if you're in the Spirit of the Lord and if you have the authority and the faith. So that's the other thing. You get the authority from the church and from God, and you do it because you have faith in this process. So I researched, I studied, I learned, I tried to figure this out. It's just the most amazing thing. That whole and of all the things that I do, whether it's cryptozoology or ufology, all of that, demonology is the thing that speaks to me in the loudest voice. And I'm not exactly sure why, but miracles, apparitions, guardian angels, good versus evil, that whole thing. I mean, that just seems to just speak to me in a very, very loud voice. And I think because of that, I'm have the ability to articulate this, and I'm really hoping that this book is well received and that people say that this is a comprehensive book on the subject of haunted houses and demonology and exorcism and all that, and looking at it through again, it's called The Schmerl Haunting, When Ed and Lorraine Came to Town. So
Well, I really find this interesting because you've been around and listening to people, and we had referenced, you know, the Amityville Horror,
yeah, oh yeah, that's and
which,
again, who hasn't? I mean, there's like a billion books and motion pictures about Amityville. I mean, maybe not a
well,
billion, but close to it.
there's a lot.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that was a real experience?
Well, here's the thing. How about this one? Let's go back a couple of years. Uh,
Okay.
George and Kathy Lutz were there for 28 days. They bought the house real cheap. I think it was 80,000, maybe. I forget. They bought it after Ronnie DeFeo shot up the place, took a rifle. He said the devil made him do it. He's 23 years old. Killed his father, his mother, his two sisters, and his two brothers with a rifle. 6 people, 8 shots. They said that he wasn't mentally ill, but that he was uh, a personality disorder, that he had no empathy, and he needed immediate gratification. Ronnie, they called him Butch. He was a rich kid. The family was wealthy. He would walk around with thousands of dollars. He was doing heroin. He was doing meth. He was on Thorazine. He was a pretty mixed up kid, but he killed his family. And there's been so many books written about it. Now, I read Jay Anston's The Amityville Horror twice, and the book pretty much sucks. I don't know if that's the proper word to use, but it wasn't good. The end of
Yes.
it, he had a conclusion that I thought was on the mark, but the rest of it was not good. He took something like 48 hours of tape from the from George and Kathy Lutz, who were there for those 28 days or 48 days, and he transcribed that. But so all these books are written. So George Lutz's attorney claims that over a couple of bottles of wine, they conjured up the Amityville Horror. So here's the thing. The Amityville Horror is a cash cow. It's a cottage industry. I don't care how
Yes.
you approach it. I don't care how you write about it. You could say that I was there and the demons came after me, or you could write and say that I got drunk on two bottles of wine and just wrote about a hoax. Doesn't matter. Somebody's going to buy that book. And what they
Absolutely.
did was they jumped into the game. It was all hands on deck. I mean, so do I think it was a hoax? No, I don't. But do I think they made money from it? I know they did.
Absolutely, they
I know
did.
they did.
Yeah.
And again, in my book, The Schmurl Haunting, I have a chapter on Amityville. I dissect Butch DeFeo and what he did and what he said. Again, I read countless books on that. And I listed a whole bunch of books that were written about Amityville. We can't get away from it. And let me ask you that, because I'm just blabbing. But why do you suppose? What's the fixation on Amityville with not just with the whole world? Why are we so fixated on that bloodletting?
Well, for one thing, it was a bizarre murder scenario. Okay. It was familial and brutal and just astounding. I don't know really why there is such a reaction, because the brutality draws our eye. It also draws our emotion. The Tate murders,
Yeah.
the
I
brutality.
could not read that book.
I could not read that book,
No, it was too.
but
And I like horror, but I could not read that book.
I don't like horror, which
Yeah.
is terrible because all of my best friends are horror actors.
Yeah.
But but it's really, I have a harder time with written horror than movie horror, because when I'm an avid reader, I absorb as I'm reading. And so the experience comes to life for me more when I'm reading about it than when I'm watching a movie. And mainly because I don't watch those movies unless I get conned into it.
Uh,
But
you're missing out.
no, I'm not. But not for me. But it's really interesting to me because Amityville struck everyone. And I have such a hard time with that kind of violence, human to human.
Mhm.
I'm I'm an empath. I'm an experiential empath. I do not, I feel people's sensations a lot. And I could not read Amityville all the way through.
Oh wow. Okay.
So
Yeah. Well,
I just,
I read it
and
for
then
you. I read it twice. So.
there you go. Thanks for taking that one for me. But, but I did meet a Lutz at a
Oh.
Paracon, and he was so paranoid of people talking to him. And I wasn't even there as a host. I mean, I was there because I'm media, but I was not trying to interview him. And he was there with a well known priest. And I was surprised that he acted so like he was terrified to be in public.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, I don't know why you would be scared. You know, I did not understand why You would come to something knowing that you were going to be putting yourself out there
Hmm.
to a degree. And, you know, why let them introduce you by your name? Come incognito if you don't want people to talk to you. And it was a very strange environment.
Hmm.
So and I didn't like how he felt either.
Yeah.
But the whole scenario to me, that is one sick thing, you know, to be able to, if somebody did just, make that up and reenact it,
Hmm.
to create that environment, then what were you thinking? You
Hmm.
know, I don't like the fact that there are people really like that
Yeah. Yeah.
that can do that. That's, to me, humans are much more scary than the paranormal.
Well, I'm
So,
sure Amityville is a good example of that. Yeah, you're
yeah,
right. And I think one of the fascinations is that how could a kid kill his parents and his
right.
siblings? Boy, what's I mean, that just doesn't make any sense. We try to figure it out, but it doesn't make any sense. And
Mhm.
it's a senseless murder, and
Yes.
it could have been fueled by substances. So that's your dog, right? Could have been fueled by substances, some kind of anger towards his father. I don't know, but they tried to use the insanity defense, and that didn't go anyplace. Uh, the other book I read, Amityville Horror twice, and then the other one was called High Hopes, and it was I believe it was the prosecutor that wrote that book, and it was really good. I liked the way he approached it, and it was tough because they had to make this stick, you know, and just a horrible case. But so I talk about Amityville in the book, and then I also talk about the Hinsdale house that was in New York. And there were a number of exorcists that went there, including Father Treble. And he was the hero of the Schmerl haunting. He was able to do 4 exorcisms to
Oh,
finally.
so he was there. He was at all of these then,
Who's that?
that priest.
Oh, Father Treble. Yeah, he was at well, not Amityville, but he was at the Hinsdale house and the Schmerl house. But the point I was trying to make is that at the Hinsdale house, he couldn't chase away the demon, and he said that there's some places that are just evil. He says what you do is you take your possessions and you leave, and you don't say anything, don't say where you're going, and you just leave. He said that some places are just a hole to hell, and that was the Hinsdale house. So um, that was pretty interesting.
That
um,
is. I have friends that investigate there,
okay.
and I know who owns that.
Yeah, there was yeah,
So
he
it's,
took it over. I had his phone number. I was going to call him, and I didn't. But you could go there. I think for a fee, you could go and you could check out the house.
yeah,
And
you can go in and investigate. It's one of the more expensive hauntings that you can go and investigate, but you can do that.
yeah, yeah.
Have you been there?
I have not. No, I was at the Wells house. So I also talk about the Wells house. Ed and Lorraine were there, and that's in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. And it just had a long history of just all kinds of demonic stuff. But the one guy who was one of the renters, after years and years, he took a sledgehammer and he smashed down the one wall, and he found what looked like voodoo items, like bones, etc. And he thought that the original owner had a voodoo curse placed on him, and that was the cause of all these things. So he was able to find that. That was the Wells house. That Lorraine thought that she felt something there. Um, with the Dan Rivera death, and
Mhm.
some people saying not to talk about it. I think his name was Chris McConnell, that was the grandson, and he was one that was speaking out quite a bit that that Annabelle never should have been taken out of the Warren's Occult Museum. She should have stayed there under lock and key. And I emailed him a couple of times, and I think he's in Paraguay right now. I don't know what he's doing there. He said he's helping people, so whatever that is, I don't know. He's helping people in Paraguay. But he was one that was there at the Schmerl house, and he did some investigations for them. So that's in the book, The Haunted.
Why did he feel like Annabelle should not have been removed? Did he feel like actually being in the structure was providing a level of protection? Or
yeah, absolutely. But also, Lorraine didn't want Annabelle to be moved. Lorraine had specific instructions to keep Annabelle there at the Warren Occult Museum, and it was Tony Spera, who was in charge of this, that took Annabelle around on the rail. Now, let me say this about Gettysburg. We were there. My wife and I were there Friday, July the 11th. There were 1,240 people there. And Kat, if you have your abacus there, 1,240 times 40, whatever that is, that's $40. That's what the take was. So plus they were selling T-shirts and everything else inside there. But it was very atmospheric with all the purple lights. And I think there was dry ice and the Gregorian chants. And there's Annabelle right in the middle. And just I mean it was pretty bizarre. It was like going to a carnival. That's what it was. It was like go to the carnival and seeing the the snake lady or the sword swallower. And that's what it was. So
that is not what you should do with objects of that nature. I was actually supposed to be there.
Yeah, well, that's what they did.
Had a reason. Yeah, I couldn't go.
Yeah, well,
and that's.
I mean, I cannot say that what they did was respectful. It was there to make money. That's what it was, and they did make money.
And it was. Why else would you do that? But I also think that if you believe that that is an object capable of what happened, then it's irresponsible to remove it and take it into the general public. And that event is all about kids with cancer and veterans and stuff like that. And I know it's a paranormal event.
Well, here's the other thing too.
Crazy.
They said that during these events that Father Bob was there. So there was always a priest on hand. Well, when I was in Gettysburg, Father Bob wasn't there. He was out of the country. So that was another thing too. So there were some things that were amiss. But then in the meantime, all of a sudden, Tony Spera sells everything to the comedian, and there's a guy from from Monroe, Connecticut now. I emailed him. I haven't heard from him, but he's a comedian that is very much into the paranormal, and he bought everything that's at that Warren Occult Museum, including Annabelle. I spoke with the Monroe, Connecticut Chamber of Commerce yesterday, and they're giving me information with the local newspaper and also with the guy the comic, I forget his name, that bought the thing. But that happened relatively fast. So
right.
What I want to do is I'd like to go up there and see if I could go and do a presentation on the Schmerl haunting with you as my co-host. I'm gonna
I'd show up.
Let's do it. Yeah, we'll do it. Okay.
Let's do that. But we would be a good tag team. But I just go ahead.
But if you were there, would you do something like, okay, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard about him, you've read about him. Let's give it up for Maxim W. Furyk. Could you do that?
I would be very good at that.
Okay.
Because you know what? Because I like you. And I think that anybody would be fortunate to be getting to spend time listening and learning from you.
God, you're making me blush. Boy, oh boy.
Oh, please.
You're using your southern charm, so stop it.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is.
Can
But
imagine
no,
what
I mean,
what are your
seriously,
listeners thinking? You know, look, there's somebody saying, "Get a room."
probably not. They're used to me. But,
Okay.
it really is. Well, I mean, seriously, when I like somebody's work, I like somebody's work. And I do like yours.
Yeah.
But I also think that it strikes me as odd that they sold museum artifacts,
Yeah.
lock, stock, and barrel, because ostensibly there's a lot of dangerous artifacts there.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And it seems irresponsible to sell them to somebody that doesn't have a history and a knowledge about dealing with these things.
Hmm.
It's, I mean, some of them are very powerful. And a friend of mine, I used to go to Key West every year,
Oh, okay. Oh, to
and
Robert the doll.
Robert the Doll,
Yeah.
and you can feel him when you're coming around the road from the airport on the Atlantic side. You can
Wow.
you're a good distance from that museum, but you can feel him.
Hmm.
And the same at the house where he was owned. You know,
Hmm.
um, the where I rent bikes is right across the street from their house, and you can feel him. You can feel something,
Yeah.
feel the presence there. And so I walked into well-known haunted museum, and there was I do not like Robert the Doll. I know that he has created havoc in some of my friends' lives
Oh, wow.
just
Okay.
because he gets an attitude because you don't ask to take his photo, right?
Wow. Yeah. No,
And
I've heard
so
some crazy stuff about that. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and so my friends actually got on a plane and went back to Key West from Tennessee to apologize to him because their lives got so jacked up. It
Man.
was, yeah, we're serious.
Yeah.
So I walked into this museum, and there is a Robert the Doll. And I'm just like, I have actively tried not to come across this doll, right? So I walk in and I'm like, really? And I went and found a curator, and I said, "Why do you have a fake Robert the Doll?" And they just looked at me. And I'm like, "No, really. If a doll is haunted, they're there all the time.
Hmm.
I mean, that's their vessel." And I said, "This is not Robert the Doll, is it?" And they just kind of looked at me again, and they were like, "How would you know that?" I said, "Because I know Robert the Doll. I know what his energy feels like. And this is not Robert the Doll." And they said, "Oh, well, somebody gave it to us and we just, it's just a doll and we put it in there." I was like, "But you put it in there with intent, and intent can
Yeah.
free things."
Hmm.
So, it's just like taking Annabelle and removing protections from that particular thing.
Hmm.
You, as far as I know, nobody's bound Robert. He's just in the museum.
Hmm.
And it's just a crazy thing. I had some spiritual problems after I left Key West, not because of him, but because of an investigation that we were doing. And I had to go for cleansing and get all the stuff done and whatnot. But it's really, there's a lot to the voodoo and the hoodoo, and, you know, the intent that people put into things. You can create manifestations, and to just arbitrarily sell that to someone, not knowing if their intent is to let it have free reign,
Hmm.
or to, are they going to seriously try to protect the public? Then, if it's not somebody that takes that stuff seriously, that could be a really bad thing for some people.
The local I'm getting a little echo here. The local newspaper did an interview with me on my trip to Gettysburg, and they said that I uh, blessed myself with holy water and said the Lord's Prayer as I was going to see Annabelle. And I really didn't do that, but I mean, that's not wouldn't be a bad idea.
You have been a bad idea.
But I didn't, So they, and I don't know where she got that, because she had a tape recorder and she's taken down all the stuff. So, but anyway, that was just a crazy thing. So the book is being published by Anxiety Press from Chicago. It's in production now. We are waiting for the publisher to get a copy in hand, and then it's been approved, and then I'll be getting copies hopefully at the end of August. And and then my life's just going to be like, we're leaving October 6th for Nashville, and then we're going back down to Florida. So I don't have a whole lot of time. The book's going to come out, and we're hoping to do a couple of signings before we leave. And so anyway, I'm excited to see what's going to happen with this book.
How long are you going to be in Nashville?
A week.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you close to that?
I'm in Birmingham.
Well, after Nashville, we're going back down to Florida. So we go through Alabama, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go through Birmingham.
Well, you can go through Birmingham, or you can go through Atlanta, depending on which side of Florida.
No, I don't want to go through Atlanta. Don't say that to me. Nah.
I don't blame you. I lived there for long enough to know that it's no fun.
Yeah.
But because I have a house on the Alabama coast.
That's what you told me that, yeah.
It's just lovely. It's the right time of year to be going to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I know. What's the beach in Alabama?
Gulf Shores and Orange Beach.
Orange Beach, yeah, okay. And where's that?
It is 23 miles of beautiful white sand, and it is along the Gulf Coast.
Okay, I've heard of that.
Yeah. And when you go from us over into Florida, you're in Pensacola.
Okay. Now, a big one that you might want to consider is the Ocala Bigfoot Expo, and that's in the spring. And you should be there. I mean, there's thousands of people. I mean, boy, I just can't believe the energy there. It's at the Equestrian Center, the largest equestrian center in the United States, and it's just a humongous affair. And and again, it's just so amazing that people would come up to me and say, "Hey, I heard you on a podcast." Just like when that happens, that is so cool. So
it is so cool.
Yeah.
Something that I love Bigfoot stuff, and well, where I live is not like Bigfoot capital or anything, but one of my friends grew up on a mountain south of Birmingham, and she said that while she's a good bit older, she's probably 20 years older than me, and she said that it was normal to have Bigfoot around, that they were not scary, that they were not, that they were just like living in sync
with us.
And yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, you were what?
Yeah.
Because now the area is so populated.
We don't hear a whole lot about Bigfoot creatures being aggressive. You don't hear that.
Yeah.
They're reclusive. They run away. We heard about Ape Canyon. That was one story, but the only other one was with President Teddy Roosevelt. He wrote a book, took place in Montana, and supposedly this cryptid had killed this hunter. So that's the only documented case I ever heard of Bigfoot being aggressive. And back home, a friend of mine, Craig Long, he is a district magistrate. Do you have those? They're like local judges.
Okay.
Like a justice of the peace.
Oh, we do have magistrate judges.
Okay, yeah, okay. Well, this guy, Craig, he used to be law enforcement. But anyway, when he was a law enforcement guy, he gets a call 11 o'clock at night. This older guy is letting the dog out to take a leak. He sees this creature, 11-foot tall creature, and he told Craig Long, the cop, that he wasn't afraid. And the reason he wasn't afraid was because the Bigfoot had kind eyes. He had kind eyes. So add that to the little dossier. But but they say that Bigfoot shape shifts, that it has bilocation. You see them in front of you and then behind you. Some people claim that they have psychic abilities, that they talk telepathically, that the coastal peoples believe that they were sacred, that they were protectors of the environment, that to see a Bigfoot, to see a Sasquatch was a spiritual event, all kinds of things. And what's interesting is we heard about Bigfoot in 1958. The Humboldt Times had this article about the California abominable snowman. So they write about it. That's the first time that Bigfoot ever, became part of our vocabulary. And it hit the wire services, and it just went big time. And from then on, I mean, people started to talk about Bigfoot. So it was a pretty huge thing. So hasn't gone away.
That's really interesting because the people, the woman that I was referring to, my friend Wanda, that was a group of Native Americans primarily that lived on this mountain, and it's a widely populated area now, and with still a lot of woodlands. But it's so interesting because I heard that from more people than her as I was growing up, and it was, because going out through that area, it's called the Narrows,
Okay.
where the big roads were built. And so if you're being taken out through the Narrows to dinner, there's a very good restaurant out there. So you were a hot date, right? That was someplace that, you wanted to be valued enough to be taken out there. But because just plain chicks didn't get taken, right?
Yeah, okay.
But it was interesting because we would go through there, and I feel energies and stuff, and I never felt anything that would have given me pause, and of course I really never stopped there either. But sometimes I've been canoeing out on a lake at the park that's out there now, and been glad I was in my kayak. Because you'll just almost like the woods have eyes, something like that. It's a very strange sensation.
Yeah. Tell you what,
she said they were.
Best part about Florida is kayaking. I mean, boy, do we have some nice places, Rainbow River and Silver Springs. You can see monkeys and gators and all that. It's really neat. So
the monkeys are kind of scary. Monkeys can be aggressive.
They could be, yeah.
And they're so strong.
Yeah.
And alligators, I've hit one with my paddle and lived to tell about it. So that's a good thing. But
you stay away from
I was trying to push off. They're aggressive. Or they can be.
They can be, yeah. Well, what we do is we stay away from those little what do you call them, like inlets, because you're next to the weeds and that, and they could be there and they could just go and snap you. So you need some room to maneuver. So we try to stay away from that. But yeah, fun. We like kayaking.
It's fun, and it's so much closer to the water than canoeing.
Yeah,
I like it better.
Yeah. So the thing with my writing career. So as the Schmerl Haunting is coming out in August, the other book that we're working on is the Paranormal Apocalypse. Is This How It Ends? And we are doing the final. Okay. Oh, that was. I'm glad you didn't see that. So this was the prototype. Is This How It Ends? And now they're thinking about changing this because they think that the paranormal is a little bit more serious than this. They think that this gray as a grim reaper is maybe too, I don't know what, fantasy or I'm not exactly sure, but they want to go and come up with a couple of more. I mean, I like this,
Well,
but
what do they think is going to be more paranormal than a reaper?
I don't know. I don't know, but
That's
they're
curious.
yeah, I don't know. But I just heard that today, so they're going to go and work on a couple of other covers. But I mean, this one I think is just perfect. So, but Paranormal Apocalypse takes a look at fear. And
Mhm.
it was H.P. Lovecraft that said that fear is the most basic emotion and
It is.
fear of the unknown is the most powerful. So I talk about us having fear of through the government, through society, through religion. You know, they like to keep us afraid. And if you're afraid, you know, you don't have rational thinking and common sense. You just follow the crowd. So that's pretty much what the book is about. And you know, and we'll see. I just think that I think that the apocalypse is an area that of fascination.
It is.
I just learned the word eschatology or an eschatologist. These are people that are concerned with the end times, but now that's part of my vocabulary. But but you know, I talk about Revelation and I talk about the seven seals, and you know, and some people believe, some eschatologists believe that the uh, you know, the second coming, the you know, the Armageddon has already came. Other people believe it's right around the corner, and then some people feel that we're living it now. So, but I talk about, you know,
Interesting.
how's it going to end? Is it going to be you know, a nuclear winter? Is it going to be you know, a nuclear war, the environment, a pandemic, you know, whatever? And you know, it's interesting too because I was talking about the book with one podcast. This was about a month ago, and I got canned. I got booted off, and I was
Mm.
talking about uh, pandemics. That, you know, with the paranormal apocalypse, I mean, the world could end through a pandemic, and I think with some folks, there's certain red button topics, whether it's Dr. Fauci or Wuhan or pandemic, but I did something to trigger something. But I that was the first time I ever got kicked off of that. That was the one time. And then the other thing was, and man, I don't know. I'm glad that your program isn't being censured, but I'm a Floridian. In 2023, when they were having all these congressional hearings about the UFOs, I wrote 6 letters. Senator Marco Rubio, Senator Representative Paulina Luna, Chuck
Mhm.
Schumer. There were 6 letters that I wrote. The only one who responded was Marco Rubio. And I was saying, could you please have David Grush and all these other people show his cards? You know, Grush was saying he knows where the bodies are, he knows where the vehicles are. Okay,
Right.
show us where they are. And with this podcaster, he was censured because I was talking about Marco Rubio. And again, nothing, it wasn't anything political. It was just what I just said. I contacted them to start a rapport to get more information and to encourage the government to continue these hearings, to continue to talk to David Grush to have him,
Yes.
you know, show his card. So that's where that went. But you know, I think one good thing about podcasts is that we still have, I believe, freedom of speech, and we could go and talk about the different issues. And
To an extent.
yeah, to an extent. Yeah. And again, I mean, I'm not talking about, you know, anything bad. I'm not talking about anarchy
Well,
or
you're
anything.
not, but that is, for whatever reason, even with the public attention on this now, even with the experiences now, um, one of the people involved in the Pacific experience was basically drummed out of the Navy. Okay. And so to me, and he was not a pilot, but the pilots are able to talk about it freely. And
You mean seeing different craft?
seeing well, the pilots that were interacting with the TikTok,
Okay, the TikTok. Yeah.
they're allowed to speak freely.
Okay.
Okay. And it's really, to me, fascinating because I'm very much into the UFO UAP research. I'm more the science side of it
Hmm.
because it fascinates me. I think that they're trying to give the illusion of being willing to share this information. Not often do you hear them talk about the Roosevelt Group, which had very similar experiences on the Atlantic side decades ago. And I mean, seriously, almost the exact same experiences.
Hmm.
You know, the gentlemen who were flying in the Pacific experience, the Nimitz group,
Nimitz, right?
were, yes, but they were talking about how, you know, they've talked about how there were, as they're flying in around DC, around the different, bases and stuff like that, that you can't see them, but when they're there. There's like a shimmer or something. There's a there's something different where they are,
Hmm.
like with the people, they could see them with the new radar on the Nimitz. That's why they knew they were there
Hmm.
initially. And then one of them was not cloaked and was flying with our pilots, right? But on the radar, there were there was a squadron. Uh, there's a word for it, but a lot of them there. And I heard one of the people from the Nimitz experience talk about there was a squadron basically of them.
Oh,
It's
okay.
bigger than a squadron, but
Yeah.
um, I hate when words escape me.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't have them
It happens
much,
to me
but
all the time.
I'm
Yeah.
not pulling it
Yeah,
here.
yeah. I think
But
what happened though with the words too, we went from UFOs to unidentified aerial phenomenon, and then with the Nimitz thing, they started to talk about unidentified anomalous phenomenon because this
mhm,
thing hovered and then it went under the water. So that
yes,
was something
because
that was,
we do have aquatic activity now,
yeah,
or that's being discussed. But that's really not new because the Navy has a term for them. It's fast movers,
okay.
and that's not a new term. So there have been underwater experiences with submariners for, we're what, into our third or fourth generation of submariners,
Hmm.
and they get them on radar. And to me, that's interesting because they will talk about anything but that.
Well, I'll tell
So
you what,
it's interesting.
I was a radarman. I was aboard the USS Constellation, and
Ooh, you should.
During the Vietnam conflict, and saw numerous bogeys, and we're talking about solid, tangible, maneuverable contacts, faster than any
Right.
guided missile we had or the Soviet Union had.
Yeah.
And we would put them in the logbook and put down UFOs, and we were told to keep our mouth shut. Don't talk about this. And
Yeah.
then these logbooks would disappear and they would have brand new ones. And I know every now and then, like when the logbooks would be there, I would look through them just to see all the UFO sightings. And there were a lot of them. So that was part of my experience. And then another thing that happened that's, totally uh, off track of what we're talking about. But as a former rock journalist, I was on the Constellation. We did combat operations with other um aircraft carriers, including the Bonhomme Richard. And Commander Morrison was in charge of that. And that was Jim Morrison of the Doors' dad. So,
Oh,
Jim,
small world.
I know, a small world, yeah. And
Yeah.
the theory is, the conspiracy theory was that during the Six-Day War, Israel bombed the USS Liberty. It was a spy ship that they claimed looked like an Egyptian ship. Well, anyway, Commander Morrison said there should be economic and military reprisals against Israel, which you don't do in the military. So,
No.
so there went his career ladder. But the conspiracy theory is that the Mossad, or the Israeli Hand of God, went over to Paris where Jim was hanging out, found out his behavior, and he would just go get drunk and go back to the thing. And he was an alcoholic, not a heroin addict. And but he
Right.
got shot up, and they took him to the his room, put him in the bathtub, and it was a couple days before anything happened, and there was no autopsy
Right.
or anything. So there was a lot of silence there. And then, do I have my thing? Yeah, stay right there. I want to get
I
something.
will.
I may. Yeah, this is great.
I'm not tap dancing though.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, good. So this was, so I was a drug and alcohol guy. So in
Right.
advertising, they say one of the surest ways to get your message across is to put celebrities in your ad. So here's Morrison, Joplin, Belushi, and River Phoenix. Take a look at this. And
Wow.
if you could see this, and I have this framed, but
There you go. Okay.
okay, so, and there's Jim. And Commander Morrison had them take this down because he didn't want Jim to be known as a dead drug user. So this is
Oh.
my thing. And this was from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America, Foundation for a Drug-Free Pennsylvania. So that was back in my days of drug and alcohol stuff. And hang on one second. Oh, good. One more show and tell. Nothing to do with the
Okay.
paranormal, but here's your brain on ecstasy. Can you see that?
Oh my
So
gosh.
this is vintage, man. This is worth money. So what they did was they did this study to show the effects of the brain on ecstasy, MDMA, methylene deoxymethamphetamine. What they did
Right.
was they screwed up. They didn't use MDMA. They used methamphetamine, which is a stimulant. It's a neurotoxin. It destroys brain synapses and everything. The
Okay.
speed freaks and everything. So the government got this thing wrong, and they were going, So this was just not. But I have this thing and this thing in my archive. So
Oh wow.
see my office. Yeah. So
That's,
anyway,
your office sounds fun.
it's fun. Yeah. So yeah,
Yes.
this is something else. I used to do these anti-drug presentations, and I would show this. But anyway, but
Well, which
anyway,
side is which?
pardon?
I mean, because it's obviously affecting the lobes differently.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
is that
and a lot of times with government studies, they will give a university millions of dollars, like a grant, to do a study, but they want the study to be going a certain way, to be swayed a certain way,
yes?
and they make that known. That so you could find ways to do that. So I don't know if this, who did this. I mean, maybe the National Institute on Drug Abuse. I don't know, but anyway, that was that. But yeah, that was my. I used to be a drug and alcohol guy, and as we talked about, and so that's sort of what I bring, I guess, to the forum, as a paranormal guy. I mean, that's part of it. But just trying to figure it out. So.
Well, before I let you go, I want to ask a question of you. And it's something that we talked about earlier in the show, and it's been, kind of turning up through the conversation. But what was your opinion? What did you take away from having met George and Lorraine? Ed and Lorraine.
Yeah, Ed and Lorraine.
Park.
Yeah. Well,
but what did you think of? I know you're a huge fan.
Yeah.
But not everybody seems to be.
No, and my theory of 30, 30, and 30 doesn't work with them. I mean, there's more than 30% of the people that don't like them. A lot of people don't like Ed and Lorraine For example, pagans and Wiccans don't like him because, you know, certainly with those folks, they believe that, you know, we entertain, we deal with, we coexist with some of the darker forces. You know, whereas with Ed and Lorraine, it was black or white, it was good or evil.
Mhm.
So they had this very severe dichotomy, I guess. Uh, uh, so that was one thing. I think some people disliked them because they made money, and they were making $5,000 per appearance. They would go to these colleges, over 700 appearances. But again, just because you're making money, just because you're successful, does not mean anything that you're a con artist or that you're, you know, something bad. Again, this is America. We all try to hit it out of the park. Not everybody does. Some people are successful at it. You know, not everybody is. And even as a writer, I mean, Jay Anston's crummy book, Amityville Horror, hit it out of the park.
Yeah.
50 Shades of Grey, a horrible book, you know, sold millions. I mean, there's plenty of examples of bad books that have sold. So, you know, saying that somebody was successful, you know, doesn't necessarily mean that they were wrong or anything. But I think there was a lot of animosity towards Ed and Lorraine. Some people thought that they were using their Catholicism, their Christianity, uh, as a what? As a ruse, as a you know, as something, you know, to put themselves up there. But I couldn't believe the amount of people that dislike them. And as a defender of Ed and Lorraine, as somebody who thought, you know, called them my friends because they treated me with respect. And
Right.
whenever I called him, he would take his time to explain things to me, you know, how he fought these demons and what he did and all of that. So that was, you know, I mean, they did that. Later on, I heard about there was a story that was living with some woman there, some younger woman, and Lorraine was allowing that to happen. Now, again, I don't know, you know, that if that's true, but you know, that's part of their legacy that is sort of tainted. And you know, so I think that some people believe, and again, get back to my 30, 30, and 30. I think 30%
Right.
of the people believe that they're telling the truth and they're valid. 30% don't, and then another 30% are on the fence, on the bias. But you know, um, my book talks about Ed and Lorraine Warren, what they did with the Schmurl House and the Amityville House and the Hinsdale House. It's all about them, you know, revolving around uh, the Schmurl haunting. But if you don't like Ed and Lorraine, that's okay because this book
Yes.
talks about demonology and exorcism and Jesus Christ of Nazareth. So there's something there for everybody.
There's somebody you're going to like
Yeah,
there.
I know. Yeah,
Yes.
so it's a good book. I spent a lot of God, I spent a lot of time putting this together, but I contend that something was conjured through me to write the book. I just happened to
Mhm.
be at the right place at the right time. I was the right person. It was in my backyard. I met Ed and Lorraine. I met Dan Rivera. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, this is, I think that this book is going to be well received, and
I think so.
yeah, and it's called The Schmurl Haunting: When Ed and Lorraine Came to Town. So,
That's really a great title too. Just so you know,
okay, yeah, I played
I
around
have
with it. Yeah,
I
it was
love
going to
that
be When
title.
Ed and Lorraine Warren Came to Town. I thought, no, you know, if you don't
You just
know
need
them
Ed and
well, you
Lorraine.
will by now. You don't need to know it's Ed and Lorraine. So, yeah, so
Well, you know, but your target audience will know who that is.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So that's cool. So, what else do you have coming up in the near future?
Yeah, we're hoping to do a big book signing on September the 6th at the Cryptid Collective, and that's where they had the Bigfoot Cryptid Expo this past Saturday, which was huge. I mean, really huge. So they do a great job, and I'll probably do maybe a couple of signings and then head on south. So I don't think I'm going to be. I have some things set up in Florida, and
Mhm.
then I'll be concentrating on Paranormal Apocalypse, and I'm going to see if I could find an audience for that, And that gets into Revelation, the seven seals, the
That's
four,
interesting.
four horsemen of the apocalypse. I mean, it gets into some other stuff, but it gets into, fear as a motivator. And so it's just, I think that that's going to be it's going to be a different demographic for me. So,
I think so. Yeah. There's a lot of people that have been in fear of that since, I was in high school. I graduated in 1980, and we were supposed to be having, the apocalypse then.
yeah, right. Yeah.
I guess maybe 3 or 4 times in my lifetime it was, the end of time.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because there's so much speculation. People are always so sure that it's coming around the corner,
Uh-huh.
right?
A lot of
So,
people, yeah, a lot of people have said that. A lot of people have been wrong. So
yes,
in
they
my
were. Yeah.
in my book, I have a chat in the Paranormal Apocalypse. I have a chapter called "A Thousand Screams," and this is all the dates when people like Jim Jones and all
Mhm.
these people said the world was going to end, and they all got it wrong. So
Yeah. Well, if I'm not mistaken, it says that no one will know.
yeah,
So if you're going to go quoting, that's a good one to go by.
yeah, exactly.
If somebody starts yelling in your face about it.
Yeah.
So, but you know what? I just have enjoyed you so much. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, you take care. And thanks for being you. This is just so great and so nice to be able to have a nice conversation and and to share our ideas and that. I really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll do it again. So
Well, you're welcome anytime.
okay,
I,
thank you.
if you have something you want to say, just reach out to me and we will make it so.
Okay, very
And
good.
just to talk about your work,
Okay,
because we could do that for ever and a day.
okay. It sounds
I,
good. Okay, thank
so
you so much. Okay,
you're
have a
so
good.
welcome. Thank you. And
And
I do want to say,
Phyllis, if you're listening, hello, give me a call.
she will be.
Okay.
But I also want to let our listeners know that y'all are the reason that we do these shows. I am so blessed and so fortunate to be part of the Faith family. And I get to welcome great guests like, Max. And I'm so really glad to be able to do what I do. And I'm proud of our magazine. Faith is a great organization. It's an organization of 3 right now.
Uh-huh.
So, but thanks for being here. I
Okay,
enjoy bringing people like Max to you.
very good.
And
Thank you. Have a good evening, and
thank you.
thank you everybody for listening. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night.